Good morning, people. After the two sessions in the last week, we are here to have our third session. Just check. For our next session. As a habit of mine, what I do is I reflect on what we had done last time. And of course, we have to attend to a few questions that I had posed for you all last time. And I would be referring to those. But before we start, surprisingly, I had one dislike as far as my last lecture was concerned. I don't know why that dislike was, but given the years of teaching that I have put into, it does not matter much for me. But I would advise you all as young generation is before you dislike any broadcast or anything as such, you have to think twice, basically, because it hits the morale of that particular individual who's trying to present to you. Now, if this dislike on my case has been just for the sake of it, it hardly matters for me, basically, because if you see, I have 25 likes as compared to the dislikes as such. So, and as I've already said, that in comparison to the number of years that I have put in, it does not make much of an effect on my psyche, my morale. But as I've already said, for a young generation, it is something that they need to take care of. Because as I said, that no subject is good or bad, and no subject is easy or tough. Similarly, no individual is good or bad. And as a consequence, I personally feel that that dislike was with in connection to some aspects of that particular individual, say the surrounding, something going wrong, or whatever it is. I would not go into much details as such. As a habit, what I've done is I've listened to all the things that we had done last time as well. And I have also gone through the comments. And I would again request you all that if you have a question, you post it in the comments. I would take it up. I would have the time to take it up on that particular day. Or, as I said, as my habit goes, I do return to my broadcast back and then I search through the comments and contents if there has been any question as such. As of now, I see a lot of good mornings, but I'm very sure that as we go into further details as such, we would have, I would have, you would have questions, and I expect you all to post them in the comment section. Okay, I have the comment section live in front of me. At the same time, if I'm not able to attend to your questions for today, I would come back and see this. And before we meet for the next lecture, I would see that I have answers. At least I will make an attempt to have some answers for your questions posed today. Just like last week, this week also, let me tell you, tomorrow, you will not have your geography lecture. In fact, you will have your second lecture for this week on Saturday, the same time. So this was information that I wanted to pass to you all. Besides that, two things that I would like to mention. I've already put it up on our board as such, but WhatsApp group as such, but to repeat for the benefit of all, that those of who want to join NSS, the group is already on the say the WhatsApp group is already into formation, and you can join it according to your convenience. As far as NCC is concerned, one student of mine, I have at least 5 to 6 students every day posting me different queries, and I answer to them individually. But I also advise them to make our interaction public as well. So I've asked that student, I've passed on all the contacts of the 3 sections of NCC that we have in SP College. She would be speaking to the concerned professor, and I've asked her to keep us in loop, and she would be posting on our group. Whether she comes up with a new group or on, so I'm not very sure, but I've asked her to just let me know what happens between the respective professors and her, so that other students who intend to join the NCC will also benefit from that. Secondly, the most important thing and the largest number of queries that I have been getting recently is with regards change of subject, change of medium. A notice regarding the same is going to come up very soon. So in a couple of days, you could have a notice in your respective groups, WhatsApp group, as well as, if possible, you would also have it on the website with regard the various ifs and buts as far as change of subject and change of medium is concerned. Yes, there are ifs and buts. So we will have to comply to those ifs and buts also. More details will be available on Saturday. The committee is in the process of drafting the notice as far as change of medium and language is concerned. So that is as far as the news bulletin for the college information is concerned. Yes, I had said that we would probably have our lecture on Zoom. What I hear is from the 1st of October, Zoom is planning to shift to, or rather extend its timings to 60 hours session, free session, that what we call it as such. So I'm waiting for that. Again, I don't guarantee whether we are going to immediately shift to Zoom or not. But in case they shift to 1 hour, then we would be at say a better, we would be in a better position to, we would be in a better position to have our lecture. At least 50 minutes should be fine in that case. And there would be interaction. But I believe that here also you can have interaction with me through your comments. It is only there that we would be able to have a live interface amongst us. I believe that that causes a lot of time delay. But that is part and parcel of what the world is going through these days, and of course the pros and cons of online education as well. Another thing that I would like to discuss with you all is some students posted in various groups with regards the UGC notice that has come up scheduling the program for this year. As far as the first years are concerned. Remember, this is only for the first years. This could be the first year undergraduate. This could be the first year postgraduate. And this is an averaged out notice, let me tell you. Some students immediately started texting me personally, asking for the fact that whether we would be stopping our lectures. Let me tell you that even on campus, normally I fall short of lectures, so I have to conduct extra lectures. So this is a boost time, a boon time for me, that I can interact with you and actually transpire the subject, how you should be understanding. And in fact, I believe your other professors are also doing the same. So, and of course, we are an autonomous college, so we can twitch and tweak a bit as far as our schedules are concerned. If you see the schedule of the UGC, they have made it very pack and powerful, I would rather say, from the 1st of November till the 30th of August next year, wherein your second year would start. If we are going to start ahead of all others, and of course we have one whole month going for it, we would be well placed when we start with the say as per the UGC norms. Of course, with the confusing conditions that we have these days around us, it becomes very interesting, and at time it tends to get very anxious also, because the directives that come from the central as well as the state governments, at time local governments also. In fact, it could also be a case, of course this is an hypothetical case, that if the central government says that go ahead and start your colleges on campus, and it so happens that unfortunately the area around SP College is in containment zone. So here you have a conflict wherein the central government says start your college, and the local government, the Pune Municipal Corporation, would say that no one is allowed in the said containment zone as such. So all of us will have to work around these conditions and terms and conditions, as I would call, for the betterment of the society on the large as such. I'm surprised that by till now I have not had a question on or a comment on syllabus. But I think after the initial flutter that we had on our group as such, things have settled down, and most of you all would agree with that, because of the fact that I don't see much here and there questions, as I would call them, in our group of late. Now, As far as the syllabus is concerned, I don't think even today I would be able to put up the syllabus and would be discussing that as such, because we have a lot of other things to do in geography before we go to the syllabus as such. And yes, one thing more, that I have shared the link of my Google Drive for a reference book. Students still have been asking for a textbook as such. I would say that being an undergraduate student now, you would be more benefited if you are referring to reference books rather than textbooks, which you have been doing till your higher secondary as education. Some students have went ahead and they have tried to locate, or rather they have located a book that I have authored for the university syllabus. Now, uh, yeah, so one of y'all is asking me whether I would tell you how to enroll for Moocs. Yes, that's a very important thing that I wanted to share with y'all. I'll just note it down, and possibly next lecture, I would come up with at least 10 minutes of speaking on Moocs, why Moocs, and so on and so forth. Actually, let me tell you, I should not be boasting around, but as far as Moocs are concerned, there have been two occasions that I have been speaking on Moocs in for teachers. And let me tell you that I have spoken on Moocs in one college for 3 hours and another college for 4 hours as such. So uh, Moocs is one of my favorite things, and the reason that it has struck to me basically because I see that is the future. In fact, before we had all this online issue, Moocs were very well into all these things. But as I said, I will be going into the details of Moocs on Saturday. Let me just note it down, and yes, I'll come back to it. Somebody is asking me about reference book. Yes, I have posted the link, and thank you, Niharika. She said that she would be reposting the link onto the group as well. Thank you very much. I appreciate that students are getting helpful and responsive to each other. That's the thing that we need to come up with in these difficult times that we are facing as a society on the large. Yeah, coming back to the book that I have authored, let me tell you that the book that I have authored is for the university syllabus and not for the SP college syllabus. Yes, I would agree that 75% of university and SP college syllabus is the same. So I should not be again saying this on a public broadcast platform, but I would say that those students who are not deeply interested in the subject and would just like to pass, I don't think art students do that, or rather they select arts faculty for that. But for those students who would just like to scrape through, that book is fine enough. But I have an argument, or I have a statement for that. If you have the horse, if you have the real horse in front of you, why should you be satisfied with the photograph of the horse? So if you have me speaking for that particular subject and topic in front of you, why should you be satisfied with the textbook, which is just what, around 60, 70, 80, 100 pages, let us say? I would be giving you much more intensive matter in geography, and see that you are better placed than other students. Now, an immediate question would be, sir, why have you been so selfish? I would say that the university syllabus demands so, and that is why the book is toned down. Ours is an autonomous course, and I want my students to be the best students in geography. So I would obviously be interested in giving you more. So that is as far as the book is concerned. I don't mind you, because that's going to benefit me at the end, but I still would persuade you to read through the reference book, and say you could buy one book amongst four of y'all, and so on and so forth, if you find friends and so on and so forth. So that is an advice that I would give you. Yeah, the other day we were speaking about terms and terminologies as far as geography is concerned, and I said that not only geography, every subject tends to have its 50 core subjects, 50 core terms. And it is these terms that you very frequently use when you are learning that subject. And the other day I said that maps is one of those subjects. Space and time and temporal are other subjects, other terms, other terms that normally geographers use. And a new term that I would I'm very sure you have done at an earlier point, but I would like to repeat it here that location and latitude and longitude are new terms that geography entertains, and these two terms are a very integral part of geography. I see many students, or many of our postgraduate students, confusing themselves in understanding latitudes and longitudes. And those of you who have subscribed to my YouTube channel and have just seen into the other uploads that I have put up on my channel as such, will know that I have two very short, um, I would say, clips posted for latitudes and longitudes. So those of who are still confused with latitudes and longitudes can please visit my channel. And of course, besides seeing through my lecture, you can also see those two clips on latitudes and longitudes. I plan to put up a few more on the channel as such, but until then, understanding latitude and longitude would be easier once you have gone through those clips as well. So that is as far as things is concerned. Then the term geography as such, what history does this particular term has? As I said, geography is one of the oldest subjects that mankind has been learning. One of the reasons that I have a fantasy for this particular subject is not only its history as such, but its expanse. And I would be speaking about its expanse in detail when we will be discussing our possibly the syllabus, or when I'm going to speak about geography in general. So it is somewhere in 250 BC that a person called as Eratosthenes, sorry, who for the first time, it has always been a tongue twister for me, for the first time coined this particular term geography as such. I got uh, distracted because I have a comment here, sir. What is the pattern of learning through reference book? Yes, that's another interesting question. Yes, we'll come back to that, because understanding reference book is a very important thing that undergraduate students would have to do. So I will mark that also as a point, and we will be discussing on how to go through reference books when we meet next. So there are two things. I will be speaking on Moocs, and secondly, how to use your reference books. And I will make it very clear that both these things are applicable to your other subjects also. So for the benefit of the larger students, I would be sharing my thoughts on these two aspects the other day. Then coming to the questions, I think I had left you all with 4 questions, and I would like you all to just post answers to the questions that we had posted earlier in the comments box, so that I know that you have been following what homework I have been doing. Of course, it is not homework. It was a matter of few seconds that you could have answered that. One of the first questions was that which is the only climatic region in the world which has all of its rainfall in summer? And I'm still waiting for students to post their comments in the comment box, all those who have got answers to this first question. As I had stated it very clearly last time, that most of the rainfall in the world comes in the season of summer. However, this climatic region, which is a mid-latitude region, let me tell you, and this region is, let me give you one more hint, that this region is named after a almost landlocked sea. And that is what makes this particular region very unique. I'm still waiting for your answers. Unfortunately, I'm not having any answers on that. Let me tell you that see, all of us are on the same platform. So even if you miss out on the right answer, it hardly matters. I'm giving you clues one after the other, and possibly I'm waiting for an answer to come up here as well. So first thing I said that this location is a mid-latitude location. Let me also say that this probably could be around 40 degrees of latitude. This is an almost landlocked sea, one of the larger landlocked seas, I would say. And a lot of things are named after the name of this particular sea. Let me give you some more hints that this region is also known for viticulture, that is grape cultivation, and wine of the best quality comes from this particular region. I presume that should be enough a hint to get to the answer as such. But even if you have not got to the hint as such, not got my hints and not got to the answer, let me now share you the answer that the Mediterranean region of the world. Yes, Ishita Patel has, yeah, Saraswati Janghe also has said, Anushka is also saying Mediterranean. Congratulations to all these three girls. Guys, buck up, where are you? All three ladies are answering the question. Of course, all of you all have, Sakshi also is saying Mediterranean Sea, but of the four answers, two of them have a question mark behind it. So it's more of an say statement in hope rather than a confirmed answer. Uh, Anyway, so the Mediterranean region is one of the most interesting geographical regions in the world. I would persuade you all to go to Wikipedia and type Mediterranean region and read through the Mediterranean region. This is how you grow on a particular subject. Anything that you want to read beyond your syllabus, beyond your textbooks, what you could do is just pick that word from the syllabus, go to Wikipedia, go to other sources. And no, it's not Southern Africa, Falguni. But yes, there are regions in Southern Africa which have a Mediterranean type of climate, and I'm going to come to that. So I was referring to the Mediterranean region. It's a very unique type of climatic region of the world. And the uniqueness is basically because of the fact that the rainfall comes in winter, and there is hardly any rainfall in the summer. So that's very interesting because the products that come out of such type of climate are also very unique. You'll see that all type of citrus fruits, say limes and lemons and oranges, etc., are known for to be from this particular region. The best quality of citrus fruits tend to come from this particular region. The best quality of grapes come from this particular region. And the best wine in the world, as we know, champagne, is basically the, I don't know how many of you all know where how the term, or what is this term champagne related to. Champagne, we all know, the moment you say champagne, it's all wine. But Champagne, let me tell you, is a district in France. And it so happened that the best quality of wine from the world came from this particular district, and every other person wanted to have a champagne. So that is how the Mediterranean region, or these products from Mediterranean region, got a global brand. Now, the Mediterranean region lies to the northern corners, I would say, or the northern side of, it's not a liquor, Saraswati. It's basically a very light form of liquor, I would say. It has alcohol content because it's all fermented grape juice as such. So, but it is not as hard as liquor. Mediterranean regions lie to the north of the Mediterranean Sea. You'll see that Italy, southern France, and all these regions are known for having a Mediterranean climate. If you go to the US, a similar climate is found in the state of California. And thus you'll see that the state of California in the US has their own brands of wine as well. You go to South Africa, yes, there are some areas in South Africa, the country South Africa that I mean, has a Mediterranean type of climate, and there are a few brands of wine that are also known from South Africa. Similarly, you go to Australia, and there are some regions, in fact, two of the well-known 6 cities of Australia have their locations in the Mediterranean type of climate. That reminds me that Australia, by the way, let me tell you that 92% of Australia resides in 6 of their cities. So this is again a trivia question. You'll have to name the cities in Australia which harbor, I would say, more than 90% of the population. One of the serious issues that Australia faces is rural depopulation. Obviously, if a country which is 2.5 times larger than India has 90% of its population, I would rather say 93% of its population, hosted in 6 of its cities, you can imagine how barren the other part of this particular country would be. Coming back to the fact that the Mediterranean and the climate and the impact that it has on its products. So as I said, that the products are unique, and wine is one branded thing that comes from the Mediterranean region. Then you'll see that the wheat from the Mediterranean region is called as red wheat. Okay, you'll see that in other parts of the world it is called as brownish wheat, but that what comes from the Mediterranean region is called as red wheat, basically because it's a hard form of wheat. It is not as soft as the other varieties and species that are grown in the other parts of the world. Now, obviously, if the wheat is going to be of a different type. Now, why do you have the red wheat is obviously a geographical question. That's basically because now you'll see that when do farmers plow and sow their fields? It's going to be immediately after the rainfall. So when is the rainfall in the Mediterranean region? It's in the winter. So obviously the most of the plowing and sowing is going to take place immediately after the rains in winter. And by the time the wheat comes up for harvest, it is summer, and the very high temperatures of summer will literally roast up the grains in the wheat crop, and thus the wheat gets hardened basically because the wheat grains lose their moisture because of the very high temperatures, and thus resultantly you have a very interesting type of wheat which is called as a hard wheat. And what are the products that you make out of these hard wheats? The products would include uh, all these say products that Italy is known for. You'll see that pasta and spaghetti and noodles and vermicelli, macaroni, all these, which is you'll find them in a harder variety. Of course, then you put them in boiled water and you soften them up. But these are the products that you extract out of this. Noodles also. Now, most of us by now would be convinced that noodles come from China. Sorry, noodles don't come from China. They come from the Mediterranean region. Chinese have basically blended these noodles into their flavor, and that is why they have their own cuisine called as the Chinese cuisine. And of course, in India also, we do consume Chinese products, but Chinese cuisine. But let me assure you that the original Chinese taste is nowhere near to the Indian Chinese taste, basically because Indians have blended their flavor into that Chinese. So all that Szechuans and fried rice and of course noodles and mixed dishes that you consume are Indianized Chinese food, let me tell you. Anyway, so moving ahead of, and let me tell you that I have a story with every climatic region, and if we have time at some point of time, I would like to share with you all about a very popular lecture that I tend to conduct, and that is climatic regions. I speak on the evolution of climatic regions, and it goes into hours, believe me. Because I remember I did this, and I'm very sure you also did this in your school days, that when you speak about equatorial region, when you speak about monsoon, when you speak about the steppes and the prairies and the tundra, all of these, you had to mug them up. But let me assure you, let me share with you that you don't have to mug these up. There is a natural logic behind why a particular climatic region is placed in a particular area, and once you know that logic, you don't have to by heart anything. It just comes, it just flows into you. And believe me, when I speak of for 3 hours on climatic regions, I don't have to look into my notes, not even once as such. I have stories after stories for every climatic region. We will take them up one by one, or I'll bring up documentaries on them whenever we have time. So that is as far as regions are concerned. Then the second question that we had was with regards the age of the Earth. There is this very interesting story about the age of the Earth, and since we are going to do, I've assured you all that I would be speaking on the geological time scale. I would keep that story of how people changed literally the age of the Earth with coming times. Uh, and that's why I will not go into the details of that, but it is believed that the age of the Earth is around 4.8 billion years. And believe me that not many 100 years ago, nobody believed that the Earth possibly could be 4.8 billion years old. There is still a conflict, or I would say an argument, a healthy discussion, I would rather say, between scientists to whether we confirm the age of the Earth at 4.8 billion years or not. But as of now, most of the textbooks do agree, most of the reference books do agree to the fact that the age of the Earth is 4.8 billion years. So yeah, somebody has written, Komal says it's 4.53. Yes, people do say it's somewhere between 4.5 billion years to
4.6, some say 4.6, some say 4.8 billion. And the surprising thing, or the humorous part of it, is says it's plus or minus 200 million years here and there. Now, for a geological time scale, 200 million years here and there is hardly anything. But let me tell you, share with you, that as far as the human population, or the man on this particular planet is concerned, the oldest of the species that man derived from, or evolved from, I would rather be using that word, is not more than 50 million years. So it's so very ironic that man, when he discusses about the age of the earth, says that he could be wrong by 200 to 300 million years plus or minus on one side, while on he himself is not more than say 5 million years old on this particular planet. So that's very interesting fact about it, and I would be revealing a few more interesting facts when we speak about the geological time scale and in a later lecture as such. So that was our second question. And the third question that I left you all with, it was not a question as such. I had actually asked you all to download this app from Google Store, Play Store. Yeah, somebody, Gayatri Kulkarni says Adelaide, Sydney, Melbourne, Perth, Brisbane, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's not Darwin. Darwin is, yeah, Darwin reminds me that if you are traveling from Melbourne to Darwin, the say as the crow flies distance. Now, what does as the crow flies distance mean? If you have seen a crow flying, it always flies straight. And when you want to mean that go straight, you normally say go as the crow flies. That means actually go very, very straight. So the as the crow flies distance between Melbourne and Darwin is in fact more than Australians wanting to go to Antarctica. So for people from Melbourne, Antarctica is near as compared to them traveling to a destination like Darwin within Australia as such. So this is a very interesting fact, and I just read it on Facebook the other day, and because I came across this term city Darwin, somebody Gayatri has put this up as an answer. I just wanted to, I couldn't resist sharing that with you all as such. So coming back to the fact that I had asked you all to download that. I don't know how many of you all have downloaded this app, but and I had also asked you all to start playing with that particular app as such. And I would like to share a very interesting story how I went into detailing of this particular app as such. I own a small property, and I had rented out to a person who is in IT, and he keeps trotting the globe. And while he moves in different countries, he just keeps on texting to me, sir, what is the time in India? And he knows that I am a geography teacher, so he's very, say, informative and interactive when it comes to some geographical features as such. So we speak about the daytime in the country where he is. We speak about how long the nights are, and so on and so forth. And yeah, before that I had this app, but then I started tracking the cities that he was visiting on my weather and climate app as such. You can also do the same. I have listed not less than 15 cities on different parts of the world, and I literally do track many of them. I am not claiming that I do track each one of them, but I do track the weather of many of them regularly. Particularly, if you remember the other day, before this question, we spoke about one geographical phenomena that we experienced day before yesterday, and that was 22nd of September, and that's the equinox. So it's for this particular reason that I track the day and night durations of different cities in different parts of the world. Anyway, before we go ahead with this particular thing, we missed out on one question that we had posted for ourselves the other day, and that is 22nd of September. Now, different textbooks will claim it to be 22nd September. Some will claim it to be 23rd of September, and so on and so forth. This year, it was 22nd of September, 7 o'clock in the morning. So there are a few interesting facts about the equinox, and I would like to share those with you all rather than going into the next topic. If we finish with that early, I will come back to weather and climate. But yes, I need to speak about the equinox because there are some misnomers, and we need to speak about these misnomers at some point of time. In geography, every subject has its own misnomers, I would rather say, and we need to attend to a few misnomers in geography. Now, if you remember, I don't know how many of you all had this question in when you were in school. I believe your geography teacher would have has, talked to you about these summer solstice and winter solstice, and of course the two equinox positions that the Earth attains when it keeps on revolving around Sun. And this equinox and summer solstice and winter solstice is basically because of the inclination in the Earth's axis, and which is 23.5 degrees, which again has not been 23.5 degrees all the history of the Earth. It changes, and this change is all. In fact, this change is what is called as the reason for climate change. I would like to pose one more question, or I would like to pose an assignment for you all. I want you all to go to Google and search for this term. He is a Czech person, Czech from the Czechoslovakian Republic then. Milankovic, Mulitin Milankovic. Milutin is not a word that you would want to remember, but Milankovic. You just type Milankovic and it will be the predictive texting will start showing you in Google, will start showing you Milankovic cycles. Now, I want you all to just read through what these Milankovic cycles are and what exactly does that have to do with climate change. It was way back in around 1940s that Milankovic was speaking about the climate change and so on and so forth. And it's very interesting to know his perception and read about his perception of climate change and so on and other aspects that he wanted to discuss with regards to the changing climate of the Earth. So I would want you all to visit Google and type Milankovic cycles and read through what Milankovic cycles is all about. Anyway, coming back to this whole issue about equinox and so on, the summer and the winter solstice. It's very interesting that in school days, you must have, your geography teacher must have told you when he or she taught you that at the poles, now see, this is a very contradicting statement. At the poles, north or south, you have 6 months of day and 6 months of night. You agree to that? Yeah. Now, possibly in the very same lecture, she must have also told you that on the equinox, the length of the day and the night on every place on this planet tends to be 12 hours. Now, I don't know how many of you all thought it to be contradictory at that moment of time, but isn't it very contradictory that on one hand, you say that there are 2 points on the surface of this planet, particularly the northern pole and southern pole, which are going to have a 6-month day and 6-month night. And minutes after that, you say that the Earth also attains a position called as the equinox position, wherein all the places, again, on the surface of this planet, tend to have 12 hours of day and 12 hours of night. Having said this, there are 2 aspects to this also. The fact that you say, when we say it's 12 hours of day and 12 hours of night, it's not technically true. If you want to be very precise, I would say the solstice or the equinox positions, the 4 major positions in September, December, March, and June, I suppose. Yeah, June. The Earth doesn't stand there and wait for people to enjoy that moment for the whole day. Let me tell you, these are moments. This is not the whole day, but given at that particular point of time, writing it as a day in your textbooks was considered wise enough not to confuse small kids then more. What is the difference between the equinox and the solstice? Yes, I'm going to come to that. I'm going to speak on it elaborately. Now, there are so many things that have crowded in my mind with regards to all these things that I fear that I would be digressing. And of course, you are putting those interesting questions for me, but let me try and be straight on my path. When I speak about, say, this misnomer, the fact that even though we speak about the days and the nights being 12 hours, it's not exactly that. It's just a moment I've just said. Now you have to imagine the Earth going around the sun. It's a very interesting thing that the orbit of the Earth around the sun is elliptical. But let me tell you that it has been this orbit keeps changing its geometric shape also, and Milankovic speaks about that also. But coming back to the fact that if we hypothetically assume that the Earth is going around the sun in a perfect circle, if we say that the distance between the Earth and the sun, I don't know how many of you all know the approximate distance between the Earth and the sun. There are two positions. Given the elliptical way in which the Earth goes around the sun, because it is elliptical, there is a point, there are two times wherein the Earth goes farthest from the sun, and there are two times when the Earth comes nearest to the sun. These are called as the Aphalion and the Perihelion. I'm giving you various words in geography, one after the other. Uh, yeah, Niharika says that the statement on equinox and solstice is contradictory, and she wants the basis for that. I'll come to that at a later point of time. Niharika, let me finish with this. Now, if you imagine a geometric situation here, the approximate distance between the sun and the Earth is average distance is 150 million kilometers. 150 million kilometers. The least that the sun comes, the least distance between Earth and the sun is 148 million kilometers, and the max is 152, and thus the average number of 152. Now, working it out in a geometric sense, this becomes the r. That's the radius of the circle. Now, if your r is what, 150 million kilometers, I want to calculate the circumference. That's 2 pi r. Now, again, a very ironic statement is when I ask many students as to why did they quit, why did they join geography, particularly in the science stream, they say that they were afraid of mathematics. And let me tell you, it was one of my fears also. Again, I forget, I have not given you my elaborate introduction. Let us have that on some other day. But when I came into geography and I learned geography, I found that it is one subject that had applications for all the science subject. It had applications for biology, it had applications for chemistry, it had applications for physics. Chemistry was there in volcanoes, physics was there as far as all this day and night, etc. is concerned. Physics was there in landslides. Physics was there in rainfall. And of course, you had a lot of mathematics as far as drawing maps, etc. are concerned. But of course, this was more applied, so it did not it did not matter me much, and I took that mathematics in a different way. Somebody has Rameshwar says that the circumference of the Earth is 12,756. You have not mentioned the unit. Please remember, you always have to mention the unit. It has to be kilometers. But that is not what I was asking for. We are looking for the possible imaginary circle that the Earth would be drawing around the sun. If we keep the sun as the center and the Earth moves around the sun, the possible hypothetical circle that would be formed, I'm looking into the circumference of that. Now, if your r is 150 million kilometers, 2 pi r, 2 times pi into r is obviously going to be a few billion kilometers. It comes to quite a few billion kilometers, by the way. Now, if you imagine the Earth has to travel all this distance in 1 year, a few billion kilometers in 1 year, you can just imagine the speed at which the Earth is traveling. Okay, it is faster than the fastest of the vehicle, I would rather say, man has invented on this particular planet. The Earth is traveling at a tremendous speed, and that is why you will see that the equinox or the solstice positions are called as moments rather than day. Now, for the common man, you keep it as the day, but for the scientist in you, you have to remember that this is moment. And I think that answers the question of Niharika when she says, why is this contradictory statement? Or rather, she must be referring to something else. I'll come to that as well. But yeah, that is the interesting aspect about equinox positions. And I would be speaking a few more things about that. it's nearly 10:45 now, so another 5 minutes. So I'll just speak about a few more things, and I come back to weather and climate. And I want you all to identify your own cities. You type it in the search box of the app, and you'll see that the app will store that city for you. To start with, what you can do is when you hunt for your location, if you're typing Pune or any city you are in, that becomes your primary location, and then you could look for other cities, and you could they automatically get stored unless and until you delete it from there. I'll go into the details at some other point of time, but for those who are really interested, I'm moving a bit fast, I know, but let us see how you would be handling that. Towards the right hand corner of when you open this app, you're going to have two numbers with an arrow. The arrow upward is the sunrise time, and the arrow downwards is the sunset time. uh, so you could start with trying to get the sunrise and the sunset time, and how long the daytime in a particular city is, and how long the night time in a particular city is. That's a very interesting observation you tend to make when you are in the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. So coming back to this tenant of mine who kept on traveling the globe, and he used to report the timings and the weather from there, and I used to post him the possible climate, sorry, not climate, weather. There is a difference between climate and weather. So I kept him updated with the type of weather he would be experiencing there, and he was very surprised to know that I, sitting in Pune, could give him the weather conditions there. I was hardly surprised because I was just doing it with the help of weather and climate apps. um, then that gave me an idea. Being a geographer, I need to take up a few things. Then I started looking for places which were very cold, because I wanted to see their temperatures in winter and summer also. So I kept traveling north, 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 but we know that towards the northern pole you have the Arctic Sea. It's not called as the Arctic Ocean now, it is called as the Arctic Sea. And we did not have a place. Then something struck to me, and I said that, well, this should not be the coldest place. Actually, the coldest place should have a continental location. So I went to the Siberian area, Siberian highlands, and I looked for a particular place which was very, 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 very cold, and it experienced temperatures of -40, and this was a fantastic feeling in my job, the job for the geographer and me, when I could just see the lowest temperatures there. Then I went south, and I started looking for places very near to the South Pole. And we know that Antarctica is basically a unmanned continent, I would rather say. The nearest of the human locations was Cape Horn, which is the southern tip of South America. That's the nearest you can get to Antarctica. But then, interestingly, I came across a place on Antarctica which had its details shared in this particular app. This is the St. Halley's Research Station. This is a British research station on Antarctica, and because it's a research station, uh, yeah, a lot of questions now students do have. Why isn't it an ocean, and why is it called as a sea? By the way, let me also share with you, many of you all should be knowing that there is a new ocean by the name Southern Ocean nowadays, and I would like you all to look up for that also. So I've already listed more than a couple of questions for you all for our next lecture. Um, I'll come to answering that at a later point of time. Coming back to the fact that this Halley's Research Station it shares with its weather with their recorders in United Kingdom, and while they do so, they do share it on this app also. So I have selected many. I want you all to identify your own cities, and each one of us would have an affinity for some city and craving for some city in some part of the world. So I don't want to enforce a particular city on you all. You just identify your cities and try to put them up in your weather and climate app, and try playing further as far as this app is concerned. I want you all to share your observations on the WhatsApp group. It's nearly towards the end of our lectures. I've seen that around 65 of you, or you all have been constantly there listening to this lecture. I'm stopping here right now. It's 10:50. I'll stop here. Uh, Next time, I remember I need to speak on Moocs and a few more things that we would be discussing day after tomorrow. You don't have your geography lecture tomorrow. Until we meet on Saturday, stay home, stay safe. Thank you very much.